Hey, what's going on, guys? This is Kyle Carroll from Carroll's Corner MMA podcast and MyMMAnews.com. I am joined today by Jillian Petroglia, who's looking to become an Olympic boxer. So, Jillian, how are you?
I'm good. I'm good. Hanging in there, finishing up a training camp.
Awesome. And how's camp going for you right now?
It's going really good. Throughout this whole camp, I've really had a lot of challenges. I've overcome them. I've learned a lot about myself. So it's been a really good one, my best one yet so far.
Awesome. And now I understand you have 26 bouts under your belt. You're ranked number 3 in the USA at women's 165-pound weight class. Um, Ranked second in the U.S. Olympic trials, which are December 4th through the 9th in was it Lafayette in Louisiana. Tell us a
Mhm.
little bit about your goals of going down there and competing as an amateur, trying to make the Olympic team.
So my goals are obviously I want to win. I'm coming for the top. I've gone through a few national tournaments and I've learned a lot about myself. I've learned a lot about competing at that high of a level. It's different than just taking like any regular bout, either in my hometown or even where I've traveled through other states. So I think I'm at that point in my career now where I've mastered the nerves, not getting nervous, and I'm ready to come for the top. Um, of course, my goal is always I want to be number one. Nationals, I came second last year, so I'm hoping this time I can come first. I want it. I'm ready. Um, I know I've been training. I've been taking the punches. I've been learning. I've been going with it. So I know I did everything I possibly could for this. So I'm coming for the top.
Awesome. And last time we spoke and did an interview, you were only a few fights into your young career. Now you have 26 bouts under your belt. What did you learn most about yourself since you started fighting and competing against other women and just kind of just getting in the ring in that experience? What have you learned?
That I 110% belong here. I am a good boxer. I've learned the number one thing is that I have extreme talent. I used to doubt myself in my earlier career. I used to be like, am I good enough for this? Am I good enough for that? But no, I'm 110% good enough for it. I know my skill is top notch. I've been training with professionals. I've been going at it with them and I've been sticking my ground. So I know that and I've learned that my skill is top notch.
Awesome. And now you guys were training up. Your home base is Inferno, right? Up in Lindenhurst or West Lindenhurst, I believe.
Yeah, Lindenhurst in New York. Yeah.
Okay, and now you're currently down in Florida, though, training and preparing. Tell us a little bit about the traveling to train and compete, and who are some of the professionals you've been working with that helped you grow?
So I've been down here in Boca Raton, Florida for the last 8 days. I've been training. We've been networking with DS Boxing Gym, and that's owned by Derek Santos. Some of you may know he's a very well known professional boxing trainer. I've also met former UFC champ Vito Belfort down here. I shook his hand, hung out with him for a little bit, which was it was so nonchalant. He was just in the gym and I turned around and everyone was like, "Oh my gosh!" And he was just like the coolest guy. He's so nice, very down to earth, very very nice guy to me. I wish I got a picture. I should have. I chickened out. I was like, should I ask him? Should I not?" But I chickened out. My first sparring day here, I sparred Miranda Barber. She is a pro boxer, pro MMA fighter, but right now she's a pro bare knuckle boxer. She's 2-1. She has her own fight in Colorado on December 2nd. So most of the people I was sparring with down here all have fights in December. So it was nice. I was in their training camp. I was in my training camp. So we were really going at it. I also networked up here with Aaliyah Caranzena. I don't know if you know her. She's from here. She owns her own, she's co-owner of one of the gyms in Fort Lauderdale here in Florida called Level Up Boxing. She's 5-1 as a pro. I actually know her from a long time ago. I met her in my early amateur career when she was kind of finishing her amateur career, thinking about going pro. Now she's pro. She's 5-1. She also has a fight coming up on December 1st. Um, and then I was supposed to network with someone else, another female down here, but I didn't wind up getting to go with her. But I actually went with, his name was Gabriel from He's 14-2 as a pro. He's
Oh, wow.
someone from yeah, he was one of Derek Santos's boxers down here. Today was supposed to be my last day of sparring. I was supposed to spar one of the females, but she wasn't able to come down, and he was in the gym already, and he was willing to work with me and get some rounds in with me. So I got 6 solid rounds in with him, and he pushed me, and it's way different going with a man than with a female, but I'm grateful I got those rounds in with him for my last day of sparring also. I also met Maureen Shea. She's 31-2 as a pro, so it was great to network down here with all of them and get in with the females, because it's really hard in New York to get with the females. Even I couldn't even fight in New York, really. That's why I travel so much, because there's no females in New York at 165 that want to fight me, or that are even available to fight in the open division. So
Mhm.
it was nice to come down here, get that work in. A lot of rounds, a lot of sparring rounds. So I'm grateful for it.
What do you learn from the women who've 31-2 and the women who've just been competing a little bit longer than you have? What do you learn from them?
So I learned each of them, they show me something different. So 31-2, she just shows that your career is long. You can have that long, successful career if you have patience, if you take the right steps, if you're willing to put the work in, because she's 31-2 and I'm only 23 years old, and
Mhm.
she's 42, I believe. And her career is still going. She has an upcoming fight sometime in the new year, she said. And at that age, and I hope that when I'm 42, I'm still boxing like her. And then for Miranda, Barbara, and Aaliyah, they just showed me they're young, they're hungry, they're ready to work for it. And you just got to have that drive 24/7, and you can't let anything get in the way. You can't get in your own head. You can't doubt yourself, because then when you start doubting yourself, that's when it starts to fall off. So they showed me you just got to go with it, and you just got to have the most fun possible.
Awesome. And talking about traveling, tell us some of the places you have traveled. You're in Florida right now from Long Island, New York. Where's some of the places you've been traveling to compete as well? I know Canada was one of the spots you've been up to.
Yeah, Canada was my last one. I was in Canada. I went to Louisiana, Texas, Ohio, Oklahoma, a little bit closer to home, I'm pretty sure Pennsylvania, where else? Connecticut. So I've been around there. We're trying to hit as many places as we can. We go where the fights are. So we look for them. If they're in another state, we get in our little minivan and we drive down there. And we take it, because like I said, if there was no there's no fights in New York, I can't be waiting and waiting and waiting. Otherwise, I'd still have 4 fights. Now I have all of these fights racked up in the last maybe 2.5, 3 years that I've been traveling, and I'm grateful for them, because there's females who have been amateurs, and they only have 4 or 5 fights in their career, because there's just no one in New York to fight. So we go where they are.
Awesome. And Anders F. is Jillian. I'm so proud of you. Go get it. You see the support coming in. When you're traveling and you're going to all these different states and all, I know having a wrestling background, you see people with different styles of wrestling, takedowns, ground control. But in boxing, I'm sure it's very similar. There's different areas of different styles. Tell us a little bit about the different styles you've learned from and you've used and taken from in the different areas that you've been.
Yeah, there's definitely 100% everybody. Each fight that I have, they're all different. Everyone, not most, but everybody still has some similarities in their boxing
Mhm.
style. I personally think that my style, and what my coach also is what we're working towards, is more of the pro style. The amateur style is more of a higher volume of punches, moving forward, some little bit of head movement, but like kind of blocking, but like you're kind of just coming forward, throwing, throwing, throwing. So I've learned in that way that sometimes you need to be the aggressor. You have to go forward. You have to keep moving, keep moving. You can't kind of stay laid back waiting for something to happen. So I've learned that, but I've also learned from the pros being here that the pro style and the amateur style are 2 completely different things. The pro style is something that I've adapted to, I feel like, much quicker and better, because that's just my style of boxing. Whereas the amateur style, you're boxing 3 3-minute rounds, so you only have 9 minutes. So you have to show what you can show in the 9 minutes. Whereas a pro, you can be going 10 2-minute rounds, and you have the time to show your skill and box. But really in the amateurs, you're kind of rushed, I feel like. So I feel like boxing the amateurs in my fights, I've learned that you gotta be first, you gotta put the pressure, but you also have to be smart. You can't overdo yourself in the first round because then you'll be gassed out for round 2 and 3, because 3 minutes is a long time.
Absolutely.
When you're going from boxing from 2 minutes and then you're upping it to 3 minutes, it's a big difference at 60 seconds. And that 60 seconds, if you're going full at it 110% the entire 3 minutes, when you go sit down in the corner and you come back, that second round, you're gonna be absolutely gassed. So, I've also learned in the way to know when I have to push and push and push forward and really keep going, and then when I can take back and catch my breath and relax for a little bit. Whereas the pro style, I can kind of feel like that loose, relaxed movement the entire time as I'm going, because it's more rounds and I don't have to worry about trying to get as much in that 9 minutes.
Awesome. Yeah, that it's amazing how, like, you don't think about it when you're in there, like the conditioning, like, oh, what's 1 minute? But anyone who's ever done a combat sport knows the longer it gets, the harder it gets. But and being far from home, traveling so much, support system is a big thing of being successful in combat sports, boxing, MMA. I see your mom here saying, look, look at my girl, so proud of you, mom. As I said before, your support system seems pretty strong. Um, Mental toughness and being away from home, traveling so much. I'm sure family can't always and friends can't always be at every fight because you're traveling.
Yeah.
What do you do to deal with maybe homesickness and just the mental toughness of getting in there and
Yeah.
grinding, continually
Mhm.
training as well as competing?
Yeah, I definitely am very fortunate to have a really good support system. My coach supports me day and night. This whole trip we've been coming down here, he cooked my meal, breakfast, lunch, and dinner. He's giving me my snacks, making sure I'm eating, making sure I'm drinking water. He's making my workouts up. He's even doing the workouts with me. I had 3 workouts a day. He was running with me on the treadmill. He was doing my lifting workouts with me. He was holding pads for me for mitts, or he was cornering me when I was doing sparring. So he was all with me the entire time, which is really it's very, like, inspiring and gets me motivated, gets me going, because I know I have him with me no matter what. I'm never really by myself. For my family-wise, my dad and my mom support me tremendously at any decision I make. They're always backing me up 110%. My younger sister, same thing. She's one of my training partners back at home. She's also an amateur boxer. So it works out good. When I fight, we try to get her fights. Same thing, we be training together all the time. I have a really My boyfriend is really motivational. He sends me messages every day. He always makes sure that I'm in the best mindset. He always sends me little things to keep me up and going. So I think the best thing is just making sure that you have that good communication. I can call my mom on the phone any time of the day and she'll answer. I can FaceTime my sister. I can FaceTime anybody really back at home in New York, and they'll answer and they'll talk to me for a little bit. So I think when I'm getting that home sickness, I just give them a quick ring and I'm like, hey, I'm missing home. Can you show me the dogs? Or can you talk to me for a little bit? Can you just hang out with me on the phone? Because when you're traveling also and you don't have your whole family with you and you just have, like, I travel mainly with my dad and my coach, and then it's me. So it's just usually us three hopping in the minivan. We're going. If my younger sister, if she's fighting too, she'll come, but otherwise it's mainly just us three. So I get a little homesick sometimes, but definitely the FaceTime helps. The daily check-ins, the little motivational texts I get from everybody, and especially just checking in on me, just asking me like, "Hey, how are you doing? Like, how was your day?" Maybe not even training related, just saying like, "How are you feeling? Like, what are you doing like on your free time down here, on your relaxing time?" So that really helps with the homesickness, because you do get it when you travel so often. You do. I do miss home a lot, and at the end of like training camps or at the end of fights and stuff like that, I'm like, oh, I can't wait to get home. Can't wait to go home because I miss everybody. But during that time, my family also is really good at keeping in touch with me. So I think just the communication is what helps me with the homesickness a lot.
That's awesome. That's amazing that you have that kind of support system. Now, going into the Olympic trials coming up December 4th to the 9th, Lafayette, Louisiana. Tell us a little bit of the structure. How many wins do you need? Is it a tournament style? What do you have to do to become a qualifier for the Olympics and compete on behalf of the United States?
So basically, in order to get your ticket to the Olympic trials in general, they had tournaments throughout the year. The first tournament was being the nationals. Then they had like the Eastern qualifiers, the Western qualifiers, National Golden Gloves, Last Chance qualifiers. Um, and basically, you go to those events and you fight, and you have to place first or second, and then that's your ticket to the Olympic trials.
Okay.
So for nationals, I placed second. So I got my ticket in the first tournament that they had. So I was secured from last December. Um, and then basically after that, I was actually invited to go to Colorado and train at the Olympic Training Center for a month. So from March to April, I was there for the whole month
Oh wow.
training, learning the style that Team USA uses, getting training in with their coaches, with their conditioning coaches, eating at their diet, stuff like that. So I was there for the whole month, which was a really good learning experience. I learned a lot there. I met a lot of good people. I networked. I made a lot of friends. So I enjoyed that experience a lot. It was something it was actually one of my goals on my list when we first started boxing. So we checked that off. Then I came back from there, and then that's really when things kind of like picked up a little. We tried to get as many fights as I can in. Unfortunately, in that time, I only was able to get one. We put my name in for a bunch of shows, just either people didn't take the bait or they were taking it. And then a couple weeks before we were supposed to leave to head down to wherever we were going, they pulled out. But then we were grateful that my coach actually trains with somebody who knows Derek Santos, is how we came down here to Florida to train at his gym. So I'm really grateful we got this training camp in towards the end, closer to the Olympic trials. So basically, when you go to the Olympic trials, they have each weight class is allotted 16 participants. So my weight class, I don't think we have a full 16 yet. The
Mhm.
finalized sheet isn't out yet. Only the finalized four seating sheet was out, but
Okay.
the cap is 16. And then it's like for the week is that competition style of boxing. You fight, you get eliminated, you're out. Then you move on to the next. If you win, you're done, you're out, and it just keeps going until the last person. And then once you win the Olympic trials, that's not your ticket essentially anymore to go to the Olympics. You have to go back to the Olympic Training Center in Colorado, and you have to do like another training camp. I think this one is a little bit longer. I think this one's about, I want to say 8 weeks long, against Team USA's number 1 at that weight class.
Okay.
So essentially I win the Olympic trials, I'd have to go back to Colorado, and right now in my weight class at 165, her name's Naomi Graham. She's the one who went to, Tokyo in 2020 for
Mhm.
the Olympics. She was their 165 or who they brought. And then they decide who they want to pick to go. So you don't really have to win a tournament in order to go anymore. You kind of just have to win the training camp almost. You have to
Yeah.
show that you want it more. You have to put the dedication, and you kind of have to outdo the other person, show them that you want it. And if they feel like you did more than that person, they'll take you and they'll pick you, and then you'll go. That's
Okay.
how it works now.
Very similar to the wrestling style where they have the tournament, but the person holding the seat kind of is already in the finals. Whoever gets there, best of three, and then the winner gets to go. So, all right, very cool, interesting. That's did not know that. I thought it was just kind of tournament style, winner goes type thing. But all right,
No.
awesome. That takes a lot of dedication and commitment because um, there's a lot of rounds in there that you have to get to. Uh,
Yeah, definitely.
everything else. That's awesome. All right. So, so obviously the goal is to get there, win it. When you get there, obviously dieting and weight cutting is a huge factor and all. How is that for you? Is that something that you struggle with? Is it something you just kind of step on the scale, you're fine, you walk away? How is that for?
It's not something I struggle with. I'm pretty good. I'm pretty disciplined eater. I eat pretty clean. When it's time to go, I'm I've been eating clean, so all I gotta do is maybe cut down on a few carbs, drink a little extra water, sweat it out a little bit more. But when it comes time to weigh in, I'm always on weight. I've never missed weight ever. Um, and I will do whatever I need to do to make the weight. There was a time where I actually fought at I believe I was supposed to fight at 165 or 168, and then that next week later, I was like fighting at like 160, I think. So I had to cut the 8 pounds in that week.
Oh,
Um, and I did it. I was there. I showed up. I was ready. I cut the weight, and then my opponent didn't show up anyways. But I was still there. I was still weighed in. I was still ready to go, and I felt good either way. I didn't feel drained or anything. So I'm pretty good when it comes to the weight and the weight cutting if I have to cut anything. But usually, if I have to cut anything now, it's around like maybe 5 or 7 pounds, if that. When it's go time, I try and walk around. I fight at 165. I try and walk around at 170. Maybe sometimes I'm like a little heavier, like 172, but otherwise I'm probably around the 170 range.
okay. Now you spoke about starting to train and fight like a pro, but being an amateur, there's less rounds and stuff. Tell us, when do you want to turn professional? One and two, what do you think you have to do, if there is anything, from right now till you become a professional to be successful? Because everyone knows and goes by, as an amateur, your record really doesn't matter, but once you turn pro, it obviously does. So,
Yeah.
there's a lot that is on the line when you make that jump and become a professional.
hmm
So I guess tell us a little bit about that.
So after this set of trials, we'll discuss, me and my coach, and see what we want to do. If we want to continue going through in the amateur career, the next set of trials, I'd be 28 then. Um, well, 27, then probably going on to 28. Then the Olympics happen. If I make that Olympics in 2028, then that'll set me up after that, turning pro around 29, 30, depending on how long we wait afterwards, or if I want to just do this set of Olympic trials, place wherever I place, go to the Olympics, and then switch afterwards. We're not really sure on that side yet.
Okay.
We've talked about it a few times, but either way, we're after this Olympic trial set, we'll probably talk more seriously about it. But as for the style pro and amateur, I don't think the record in amateur boxing really matters as much, but I think the number of bouts you have does. I think in your amateur career, in order to set you up for the most successful pro career you can have, I think is just having as many amateur bouts as you possibly can have, because it's one, it shapes you as a fighter. Two, it gets those nerves out of your system, because every so often you'll go and you'll be like, I'm ready, I'm ready, I'm ready. And you'll get your gloves and your headgear on and you'll walk to the ring, and then you're like, oh man, like, and then the nerves hit you, the adrenaline, you don't know what's going on. So I think the amount of bouts you have is what helps you overcome that step. Because when you turn pro, you have the lights flashing, you have the music playing, you have the people screaming. You're in this big ring in the center of millions of people watching you, so of course you're going to be nervous, but if you can kind of get those nerves gone in your amateur career, when you turn pro, I feel like that'll help benefit you. And the only way that's going to happen is the more times you step in the ring, the more bouts you can get. And I'm not even talking sparring rounds. I'm talking just full on boxing bouts. That's what's going to get you. That's what's going to get the nerves going. And then maybe, I mean, the amount of times I've done it, I don't get nervous anymore. Sometimes I feel the butterfly still a little bit here and there, but I just need to keep getting the bouts in, bouts in. And as for like transitioning over to pro, I feel like I'd have an easy transition, because
Mhm.
that's the style we train, mostly
Okay.
because that is the end goal.
Mm.
So, if I wanted to turn pro and have no amateur bouts, I could be maybe the greatest professional female boxer there was. But taking all of these amateur bouts and having them under my belt and then turning pro will just help me maybe take my career further in my life. Maybe I won't have to retire in my 40s. Maybe I can keep boxing and keep going, and not have to say, all right, you know what, let me hang the gloves up at 45. Maybe I can keep going a little bit further along. And I've noticed a lot of the professional females also are a little bit older in age. You don't really see so many younger females anymore, maybe in their early 20s, turning pro that much anymore. I see them later in their later 20s, in their earlier 30s. And then I don't know, their career can last maybe just the 10 years, that decade, or you'll get lucky and you can go over a little bit into the 40s. But I feel like if you're setting yourself up for the best possible pro career you can have, the way to do that is the most amateur bouts.
Awesome. Yeah, it's amazing how many fights people get in boxing compared to like MMA and even kickboxing is high volume as well. As many fights, amateur fights as possible, and then get in there as a professional and compete. So very, very cool. That's awesome. It's cool to see that you guys have a game plan and a path, a strategy to get to where you want the end goals and achieve those. What is something you do for fun when you're not competing and just kind of take your mind off things, relax, kind of just just relax a little bit. What's some things you
Yeah.
do?
Not boxing related. I actually picked up reading. I'm very
Read?
big reader now. Yeah. I used to never read ever. Like ever,
Mhm.
ever, ever. But like the last year and a half, I want to say I've been really into picking up books. And it's really whatever books. I was a Colleen Hoover um like fan for the longest time. I mean, I still am. I've read all her books though, so I have no I can't read anything else because I read them all. So I've been looking at different books, trying different genres that really like helps me pass the time. Even driving up here to keep me like cool and relaxed, I brought a book and I read the whole thing on the way up here. So that's probably it. That I actually my I mean I hang out with my dogs at home really like I'm always home. Me and my sister are always doing something, whether we're going out shopping, whether we're going to like wherever, Five Below, making something. We're very crafty. Like, so we make like a lot of wood projects. I try to DIY a lot of stuff at home to keep me busy instead of just sitting around like, but that's really all I do outside because I work a day job.
Mhm.
After my day job, my 8 to 1, I go home for a little bit. I'll work out myself, maybe get my run in beforehand, and then I'm headed to the gym. I'm training younger kids, showing them how to box, getting them into fitness, and then I do my own training while I'm there. And then I'm not really getting home there till 8 o'clock at night, anyways. So I'm out of the door at like 7:30, and I don't get back in the door to go to bed till probably like 8:15. So I
Long day,
have long days. Yeah.
long days. That's commitment right there and dedication. Good for you. That's awesome. As far as the books, do you ever read anything kind of like boxing and kind of read the stories of other boxers? Excuse me, other boxers, just other sports, and just coaches' point of views, and just different views of things. You ever get into any of that yet?
I've read not like full books. I don't know. I guess they're like articles, I guess you would
Uh,
say, on my phone and stuff. Like I have this app that'll you can kind of sort through like different articles you'd like want to read and stuff like that. So I usually put like sports and romance, but forget the romance one. But but I do read some sports, maybe not always boxing related. Like I've read some basketball standpoints of views, not even from the coach, but from like the father standpoint of how he's saw his son. In the basketball, I've read one about a coach coaching a female soccer team.
okay.
No big teams. They're like little like college teams or high school teams. But I just like reading their standpoint of view to see like how they view their players differently. Boxing is I already know. I not that I know, but I can kind of already picture that in my head. I can kind of figure out how that article would go. So I like to read the other sports articles. Just give me a different picture. Most of the other sports that are out there are kind of like team sports if you think about it. So I want to see how coaches view their players either individually or as a whole group when there's a lot of them. So it's very different than boxing when
Cool,
I
cool.
read those articles.
If you ever get a chance, read some John Wooden. He's was an English teacher as well as a basketball coach, and the guy is phenomenal. He's big into like poetry and everything else,
Hmm.
and he's one of the most. Well, he's no longer alive, but he's one of the most brilliant coaches to ever live. So if you ever get a chance, definitely read some
Yeah,
John
I'll give
Wooden.
him a check out. I could probably find something about him on my app or even
Yeah,
online.
yeah, he wrote probably about 100 bucks. So yeah, he's
Wow. All
yeah,
right.
pretty impressive man. Uh, um, Is there anything about you, I know I've asked this in the past, about you that nobody knows, but you would like to share, something you haven't shared yet?
That nobody knows that I haven't shared yet. Um, I
Something
don't
you
know.
want fans to know. It doesn't have to be boxing related.
Let's see. I don't know. I feel like I'm such an open book. Like everybody knows everything. I feel like I have no secrets. I don't really have anything, honestly. I feel
Alright.
like if I'm pretty open, I really don't keep anything.
Sounds good. And sponsor wise, do you have any sponsors? Are you looking for sponsors? Um,
Always always looking, but lately I don't have any. It's just been me and my coach, and we've just been grinding, doing what we're doing. So if there's sponsors out there, I'm not saying no.
how can people find you on social media to follow your training, follow your career? How can they find you?
Myself, I'm on Instagram. Just my first name, Jillian underscore my last name, Petroglia underscore. My gym's on Instagram as well. Just type in, I think it's ITC underscore Inferno, maybe. I'd have to look, honestly. Or you could just put us on Facebook. All of our social medias, if you get us on Facebook, Inferno Training Center, it'll list all of our other social medias, and our gym, all that. If you ever want to come down and to our gym, we're in Lindenhurst. We're not far away from you guys.
Awesome. Jillian, it's been an absolute pleasure. Looking forward to you continuing and competing. The Olympic trials, are they online? Or will they be streamed? Can people
Yes, they'll be streamed for everybody to watch for free. You just go on to the USA Boxing website, and there'll be a big banner. You can't miss it. As soon as you click the link,
awesome.
it'll be a big banner that says Olympic trials. You just click that, and it'll take you to all the live streams. Usually there's 4 rings for nationals, but since they're doing nationals and the Olympic trials at the same center, I feel like there's probably going to be more than 4 boxing rings. So there maybe might be like 6 or 8, but they'll show you each ring individually, or you can click one that'll like rotate through them all so you get to see them all.
Awesome. Well, Jillian, best of luck. It's been an absolute pleasure talking to you again, and looking forward to seeing you in the future and
Yes.
representing Team USA.
Yes. Thank you. Thank you for having me on the podcast. I love coming on here.
Awesome. Well, this is Carroll's Corner MMA podcast, and we're signing off. Thank you, Jillian.